You are now listening to the highlight reel builder for authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, best-selling author of the book Stay the Course, and Maxwell Leadership Certified Team member, Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some tips and techniques to advance yourself up next. Today's episode is sponsored by yours truly, Dom Brightman's wonderful book, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Grab it on ebook, audiobook, or paperback book and share this gift to your friends, family, heck, even no matter what season it is, for that wonderful person in your life that needs to advance their next level in their career or just needs a quick pick-me-up to get through their day and beyond to thrival level. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the highlight reel builder for authors known as GMP, the great, glorious, and glamorous, it's the Going North podcast, and we got another great human for it today, folks. That's right, great with all the R's and super special awesome, because this gentleman right here, like, I met him at the wonderful International Maxwell Certification event back in March, and like, my goodness, we met right after they released the new brand, and we were just checking out all the stores like, oh wow, so this is what happened. This is why they made things a little sparse, because they were getting rid of the old stuff and putting out the new stuff. And we got a conversation and found out that we were both authors, and voila, here we are today. And my goodness, like, this is going to be one heck of a conversation indeed with a powerful gentleman. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's not only a published author, he's also a father, husband, and a U.S. Army veteran. In addition to that, he's also an executive director with the Maxwell Leadership Teams. So let's give it up for the mighty Big Ben himself, Mr. Benjamin H.S. Scott. How you doing today, Big Ben?
Dom, I am doing extremely well and honored to be on your podcast and supporting you in what you do, buddy. Thank you for the privilege and the opportunity to help you do what you do best.
Hey, I'm definitely grateful, man. I'm definitely grateful indeed. So my goodness, as with all introductions, they only cover the sprinkles and the icing. We haven't even gotten to the cake yet.
All right. Amen, brother. That's right. We're not. Yep. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. So my goodness. So at the age of 12, do you think you'd become where you are today, being a wonderful gentleman with your own business, like really always expanding your mind and helping folks do the same?
So it's funny that you should ask that, my friend. The answer, of course, is no. But I do remember playing hooky from church, and at the age of about 12. But then, Don, what I would do is I would have church in the house because my mom, we had to move in with my grandparents. So it was my mom, my brother, and myself, and my two grandparents, and we had a 2-bedroom place with 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen area, and 1 small living area. So I played hooky from church, but then I had church. Fast forward some 40 plus years later, brother, and I'm finding out that me having this quote church, talking and preaching to myself was one of the things I love to do about motivating and inspiring other people to excel and exceed. So to your point, did I see myself here? No, but I believe, my belief is God had already had that seed in me, and it was being watered. The sun was shining on it, and now it's just now starting to break the surface to blossom. So the answer to your question very directly is no way, brother. But then again, maybe so.
So my goodness, you actually played quote unquote hooky from church. Like, how were you able to pull that one off? Did they actually believe you when you're playing church? Like, how'd that happen?
So what I remember, now, a long time ago, what I recall was that hey, I was either lethargic in moving out, or I said I didn't feel really well at the time. That was probably what happened. And not to say that I wasn't telling the truth. I mean, it stretched it a little bit. But that was probably more likely the deal. that I didn't feel well, and they were probably running late. And so, okay, you just go ahead and stay this time, because I know if I would have, I do understand that if I would have been moving too lethargic, I would have gotten a lot of attention that I didn't want, if that makes sense to you. So I imagine it was more like I didn't feel well, and I probably didn't really feel well at the time. But the bigger deal is, yeah, I didn't quite make it to church that day. That was one of the rare occasions, to be honest with you.
Okay, I was about to say, like, it's like me growing up, like, like I couldn't miss church for nothing.
It was a rare occasion, especially when you live with grandma, right, and granddad. That was a rare occasion that even happened. But yeah, it was really again, as I remember, that time sticks out in my mind of me doing the sermon in the house by myself. It was really very powerful for me.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's right, indeed, and powerful. Indeed, because if I'm not mistaken, a few years down the road, you eventually actually joined the military, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct. About 10 years or so later, I did join the military at the young age of 22 years old. I was in college and ran out of money. And so instead of going further into debt, the Army had this program where they'll pay off your student loans, and you can get 3 squares, 3 meals a day, some place to sleep, and we even let you go to get education. We'll pay for 75% of it. And sure enough, they were true to their word. The rules changed every now and then, but they were true to their word overall. And that's how I got my degree. I'm proud of my military service. I think that the military is a great opportunity for people. And it falls right in line with what I do with my business about building relationships and improving in communication. So yes, without a doubt, for me, the military was one of the best moves that I've made. It exposed me to very different people, different customs, different culture, and I'm not as myopic as some people that I know, because I've got to see a lot of different things, right? I've been to combat, I've been to Southwest, Southeast Asia, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest. I've had the opportunity, the blessings to have lived, not just visited. And Dom, I think you understand when I say there's a difference between visiting somewhere and living somewhere. Yes. And I've been able to do that. So that was been very wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I joined and I went in the medical arena and progressed fairly well through the ranks. So I was very blessed to be able to do that and learned quite a bit about discipline, about who I am as well. So it was very, very powerful.
That's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about there. Indeed. And if I'm not mistaken, I guess I believe there was a couple setbacks on the way that forced you to change your mindset while you were in the military, right?
You're all over it. So as I said in my book, right, one of the best things that happened to me in the military was when I got fired. So that was I was a dental laboratory technician, so I made prosthetics for dentures and crowns and things like that. And a crown that should have taken 10 minutes to seat in a patient's mouth was taking the dentist about 2 hours. And he looked over at me and said, "Hey, you know what, we're going to move you," which is a euphemism for you're fired. And sure enough, I got my marching orders to move into administration in leadership. Because at the time they saw that spark in me, and I was a strong motivator and influencer at that time in my young career. And Dom, I share with you that before that time, it took me a long time to get promoted. And then after that time, Dom, my friend, everything came very quickly. So it's like they said in the, written in the book, Good to Great. When you get put the right person on the right seat in the right bus, things move extremely fast and extremely well. When you're in your mode, when you're in your zone, you know what I'm talking about. When you're in that zone, things go boom, 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 boom. So helping others understand that, quote, failure, unquote, getting fired, unquote, unquote, right? Maybe one of the best things that happened to you. Because it's about shaping. It's about polishing that diamond. So do you see that setback as a setup? It really does begin in the mind. And that's one of the great things that taught me in the military. And that's where I came up with my M3, M2, M, right? M cubed, M squared, and M. So mind shift matters most. M. Mind management is next. So what you concentrate, what you focus on, and then move. So you get the right mindset. Then you go ahead and you focus on that, and then you take action. You get the results. And that's the big deal that taught me. Another great, I would say, challenge for me was we have this thing called the Expert Field Medical Badge. So it's a live test where you test your medical skills in a field combat-like environment. It's a 3 to 5 day test. And the first time I did it, let's just say I was next to a tree in the rain with my poncho over my head, and the water was running down my face, if you know what I'm telling you, because I failed. You are a no-go at this station, young man. But what I resolved was I could either quit now and just say, forget it. Or I can say, I'm never going to take this defeat laying down. You may beat me, but you're not going to defeat me. I'm not going to quit, in other words. And then sure enough, my friend, 3-4 months later, I was out there again, doing it again. And by the grace of God, I was able to pass, and I got my Expert Field Medical Badge. Mind shift matters most. That's a big deal. You are what you believe you are. And I want to help folks shift their mindset to go to that next level, however they define that next level.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And you're so right about that. And like as I was reading through your wonderful book and got through some parts of it, I was thinking to myself, like, man, like my man's been through a lot indeed, especially with the colorism issues that go inside the black community as well. And my man went through that in the late 60s, early 70s, and having to really destroy that and eventually get to where you are today, man. So my goodness, and you dropped that wonderful formula. What was it? M4, M3, M2?
M cubed, M squared, M, right? So mind shift matters most. M squared, mind management. That's what you focus on, baby. What you focus on grows. If you mind what you put in with your mind, that's what you're going to put out. If you eat a bunch of junk, I'm just telling you, it's going to reflect one way or the other. That's reality. It's going to reflect. It's the same thing with the mind. The laws are parallel. So if I shift my mindset, that's also called motivation. And then the mind management is also called discipline. And then movement is called action. You will get the positive result. Now, you cannot control necessarily the outcome, but you can control the 3 other variables that go along to move you very quickly towards that result that you want. Again, mind shift matters most. Shift your mindset to focus on what you want and then take action toward what you want. You got to be clear on what you want. If you want, I'm sure you've heard it before, Dom. The guy or girl says, I want to have more money. Well, here's a penny. Now you got more money. Vague, wide request gives you vague, wide results. Be specific in what you want. write it down. It's things I talk to my coaching clients. I'm sure you do the same. Write it down, have an accountability partner, and then check often, are you on course? Have your small mini goals, we call those objectives, right? Have your objectives you want to achieve. You're going to reach a plateau. That's where you got to have the people around you to keep you in the right frame of mind. You're feeding yourself that positive stuff because you're going to plateau. But that's only setting you up for the next level. That is huge, right? And so remember, as I talk to everyone, we have as much time as there is in this world, but you only have the time of this world. You get as much time as there is in the world, but you only got the time of this world. And for some folks, I just read about others who have unfortunately passed away recently, as you well know, and those times are over for them. So how do we now take advantage of what we have right now? As we talked about, the 4th of July event, our Independence Day of the United States of America. How do you free your mind now? I'm telling us, it starts with the mind shift. Shift that mindset and focus on where you want to be. How do you make yourself independent of what was holding you down in the past that you've identified? That's the challenge. And then surround yourself with people who are watering your grass and not doing something else to it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. Some
Yes,
folks
sir.
want to throw the bad fertilizer on your grass.
You got it, my friend. That's right. But Don, that's a wonderful point you brought up, right? So if we think about failure, that may be fertilizer versus something else. And if you want to have good, healthy grass, good, healthy crops, you need fertilizer. So the guy or girl putting fertilizer, a failure, whatever you want to call it, again, it's how you see it. Do you see it as that? Or do you see it as just manure, crap, rather, right? Or do you see it as fertilizer to help your plants grow? I'm choosing, and if you read, when you did read my book about my skill with the lung cancer thing, I chose to use that as fertilizer because I believe that I had a message for me from God, for my belief that I don't care how you feel, as long as you have breath in your lungs to use your gift, that's what you got to go do, bro. So, okay, stop being a thumb-sucking whiner, talking to me, nobody else. Stop being a thumb-sucking whiner and go out there and use your gift, because your gift is not for you, it's for somebody else. And that's the chapter in the book, right? Your gift is not for you. Your gift is to help somebody else. And that's what it's about. Like your gift is this, and you're touching so many lives, brother. Man, again, another seated ovation. The folks who come on this podcast are changing lives, not only economically, but as a human being, as a person. Thank you.
Hey, I'm honored, and thank you, man. Like I'm definitely grateful for having experts on the show of different walks of life to help folks realize, hey, success is tangible indeed. But hey, that success usually comes with the fertilizer we mentioned earlier. So my goodness, like, so what do you consider?
Yep. Absolutely, brother. Yep.
Yeah. If you wake up with a bunch of mushrooms on your garden, you know what happened. Let me stop.
That's correct. You know it. You sound like you've had that experience. That's awesome, man. Yes.
Oh yeah. Just don't give the mushrooms water. That's game over. If the rain comes, it's over.
That's right, man. Again, it goes back to that balance, right? It can be too much, too little, right? You can have too much water, too little water. So it is about that. It is about that magic balance, or not maybe so magical, because life gives us feedback, and sometimes we want to ignore that feedback, but the feedback is still there. And if you slow down, because sometimes we're too busy, we don't take time to slow down. We're too busy. So if you don't slow down, take time to look at the feedback, you will continue to get the same results you're getting. And if you don't like your results, doing it backwards. If you know where the R is at the end of the game, I got another formula I'll give you later on, but the R is at the end of the game. And if you go back and look at the actions, that's what's giving you the results, the R. If you look back from the R, from the action, what you've been focusing on is what you've been acting on. The formula works both ways. So if I don't like my results, remember the three most important things in life. If I don't like the results I'm getting in a relationship, if I don't like the results I'm getting in my health, if I don't like the results I'm getting in my wealth, there's some actions that I'm doing that's adding to where I am. And if I want to get a different result, the best way to do that is to do a different action. Never guaranteed, but the best way to do that is to do a different action.
Boom. That's what I'm talking about. And Dave, my man is dropping so many gems. And Dave, my man said life gives us feedback because it's so true.
Hey, you know, if you have a item on sale and nobody's buying it, that's feedback. If you have an item on sale and everybody's trying to get it and clamor at it, that's also feedback, right? So how do we do what we want to do is the question that we should be asking. But we got to make sure we understand what we want, because we may think that's what we want. By gosh, you may not want it when you get it.
Oh, yeah. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. It's like praying for patience. Like, don't do it. You ain't going to like the way to get
it. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful that some of the things that we've asked God for that we've never gotten, and we look back and say, I'm glad I didn't. And then there are other things that we say we want, but we're not willing to pay the price for it. And that price is a lot of times blood, sweat, and tears, right? As we talked about the Independence Day, again, going back to that, as a service member of the United States Army, I put my life on line for people to have freedoms, even if they don't like me or respect what I do. But that's their right. That is their right. And the same thing for us, whoever we are, us, we have some of the greatest freedoms in the world in the United States of America. Some of the greatest opportunities are here. Is it perfect? Nope. Because God has saved perfection for God. I say that again. God has saved perfection for God. We can achieve excellence. So that's one of my other acronyms, right? Be excellent now. B-E-N, right? Ben. Be excellent now. And that means being a little bit better than you were the last time, whatever that last time was. And then giving it your all. So as we celebrate Independence Day, and we want to free ourselves from those self-limiting beliefs in conversations with us, I go back to, again, do with the mind first. And that means knowing what you want. And then count the cost. Because even if you want to have corn or roses, there's some backbreaking work. If you've done farming, man, there's some work that's entailed to that, right?
Oh,
right? Yeah. And your successful podcast didn't just drop out of the sky and boop, there it is. Nah. You put some love, patience, and work into the success in which it is today. So there's a price to be paid for that. So count the cost. I had Jim Rohn, I imagine most of your listeners have heard of him, but he said that at one time he was speaking to someone, and this person was a multimillionaire, but they were on their fourth marriage, the kids don't talk to them, boom, 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 right? The cost, the cost may have been too high for that individual, or maybe not, but that would have been a high cost for me. I can't speak for anyone else, right? But I don't think that, I just use that as an example. I'm not saying that economic success and happiness are mutually exclusive, because I do not believe that is the case. I do not believe that is the case. I think you can do that. But when you put economics higher than relationships and health, I think that that's when you start getting the disasters, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely say that again. Yeah, it's actually kind of points in a way to celebrities in a way. It's like folks got all that fame and fortunate. It's like, oh yeah, life is probably amazing, and truth be told, it's probably really not. They got all the money, but they got the health of the relationships.
I just gave you the examples over and over again. Howard Hughes, if you know who his history is, right? Died alone in a Hughes mansion, at the time the richest man on the planet. I'm just saying, right? Marilyn Monroe, one of the most popular women at the time, drug overdose, died alone, naked in a bathtub. Amy Warhol, was it Warhol, the one who killed herself in England, the famous singer? To your point, Dom, from the outside looking in, it all looks like a better, but again, it's like our Instagram millionaires. And I hope that I don't offend anybody. And if I do, I should have put my disclaimer up front. I have a tendency to do that. So our I agree with you, brother. Hey, it is what it is, right? Our Instagram millionaires who are not real, who place this out there as this is the dominant thing, right? Or the people who have gotten so many touch-ups on their photos and their videos, you don't even know it's real, and people think that is real, but yet they know because they're doing the same thing. So how do you just kind of very interesting dynamic? Again, it goes back to the mindset. If you're so focused on your competition versus on you doing the best that you can do, you're giving your competition your energy and your time, and then therefore they're going to continue to win. I think, as Conor McGregor said, that winners focus on winning and losers focus on the winners.
Yep.
Powerful statement. Powerful statement. So again, last thing, I go back again to celebrating our Independence Day. I want to help individuals become independent of their self-limiting beliefs, and therefore, when that starts to break and crack, they will then have and be able to get be, do, and have. Be first what you want. You got to be what you want first. Hear me clearly. Then you got to do things to have what you want, and then you will actually have what you want. I don't understand why it works that way. I can just tell you that's how it works.
Hey, well, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. So it sounds like, especially going through your book, you have this wonderful mind for all these acronyms that you put in the book. So where does it come from? Is that a God-given brain of yours? Well, all of our brains are God-given. That's probably the dumb part of it. But hey, like what's behind all these acronyms, man? Because I love them.
So be excellent now, dad, right? M cubed, M squared, M. Decide, act, and be dedicated to those actions, right? So those come from the things that I realized that I didn't do well. So I didn't do, I don't want you looking in my closet, but I got a closet like everybody else over the age of 20. I've made some mistakes and some errors, right? I'm just saying. But if you do happen to see the errors and mistakes I made, you look inside my closet. I'm not going to deny it because that's what put me to where I am now. That's my growth. And if you're going to judge me on what I did 20 years ago, that's your right. But I'm not that person anymore. That's okay, right? I'm not. You're judging somebody who doesn't exist anymore. I made those mistakes. I made those errors, and I've forgiven myself for them as well, which is more important than what you think of, right? So those are things that I've accumulated over the years of not getting it right, and then sitting down, because just like I said before, I journal. I got several books like these that I journal and I go back and read. This is some of the best reading that I've done, and it's my life. It's like, oh wow, oh I thought that way. I plan on. I didn't never do that. Oh okay. So when you go back and you take the time, especially if I would encourage everyone to journal, and you write back and you look back on that stuff, and can you imagine me being able to pass this on to my kids? Here's some of the mistakes your dad made. You don't have to make those mistakes. And then sometimes because it's written, it's more palatable than me yapping in somebody's ear. Sometimes, right? Sometimes. So that's how I came up with most of my acronyms. Is I'm like, okay, I kind of was flip-floppy. That's probably not the right word, but I went back and forth. I didn't stay the course. dude, stay the course, right? And I said in the book, if you spend twice or three times as much time as you in planning, whatever it is, as much you do in taking the action, you're going to be that much further ahead. Now, we don't have all day to plan. We can't plan for 7, 8, 10, 15 years, right?
No.
We got to give ourselves a certain amount of time to plan, but then you got to take action. And I believe, not everyone believes like me, and that's okay. That's what makes the word wonderful. I believe that you can correct as you're going along. Because again, God has saved perfection for God. So as you're going along, you're going to make mistakes and you make the correction. You're going to quote fail, unquote. Okay, great. Welcome to the club, baby. Let's go. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Just like money and water. Water that is stagnant is not good for you. Money that is not generating more money, it's not good for you. Your body or your activity, no motion, is not good for you. Same principles, right? Again, I've learned that over the time that if I'm comfortable, I'm not growing. Because if you look at from weightlifting to running to studying, if it's not stretching you, your mental, your physical capacity, or your emotional being, if it's not stretching you, you're not growing. And also another sign of growing is it's uncomfortable when you're doing something else. So if you lift weights or you run, you get sore the next day. That's when you're growing. It's not comfortable. I didn't say pain. Pain, you may pull the corn something. Uncomfortable is a little bit different story, right? So if somebody challenging you on the way you think, if someone challenging you on the way in which you do things, if you don't have anybody doing that, to include yourself, I dare say you may be a little stale, stagnant. You may be pond water.
Yes, indeed. Don't want to be pond water, y'all. That's right. Might end up being ponds come afterwards. Don't want to be there.
Yes, ponds come. You got it, man. You understand. You get it. You understand, my friend. You understand. Now, I'm not saying we need to be constantly emotional. There is a time rest is very important. But again, the book I read, maybe not as often as I should read, said, hey, there were 6 days in which you do a lot of activity, and there's 1 day of rest. There wasn't 5, 7 days of rest, and then 2 or 0 days of activity. No, there were 6 days of activity and 1 day of rest. The body needs 7 to 8 hours of sleep, maybe 6 to 11, but there's 24 hours in the day. There's a lot more activity time than there is rest time.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, so speaking of making sure you don't get too comfortable, what are you doing to make sure you keep growing and getting better and not butter?
I've never heard that, believe it or not. But I love that. I got to write that down. I apologize. Better and not butter. Oh, man. Hey, Dom, I'm going to give you credit for it the first 3 times I use it. After that, it's fine. Oh, man, I have not heard that before. I've not. All right, so I got that written down. You may see that on my Instagram team. Now I add a picture to it somehow. A stick of butter. I love it. I'm going to get that down to a stick of butter. I love that.
It gets a laugh every time I see it. It's laugh every time.
Hey, man, it is awesome. And like I said, the first 3 times I give you credit, after that's going to be mine, bro. So, Dom, I got to be honest with you, man. I'm constantly reading, listening to audiobooks, listening to different YouTubes. And I mean, when I tell you, I listen to everything. And there's nothing that's off limits for me. I can't speak for anybody else. I don't even have to agree with the discussion or the argument. I don't. But I've read well over 700 books, right?
Nice.
And the books that I've read, even though, even if I don't agree with them, I still appreciate the person's energy that it took to write it and their thought process. And I say appreciate it in the true sense of the word, meaning I'm glad that they did it. I don't necessarily agree with them though, and that's okay. So if I'm going to get in a debate with someone, I know it's coming up, I'm going to try to debate it from the other person's point of view to beat myself. And in order for me to do that, I've got to gather information from all over the place, right? So Success Magazine, and I love that magazine, right? When it was out, right? Savoy, love that magazine. Wall Street Journal. I do a lot of consuming of information. I don't listen to the radio in the car. I listen to audiobooks. That's when I drive and I go anywhere. If I'm on an airplane, I'm either playing a game of chess or I'm listening to an audiobook. And if a person next to me starts the conversation, I'll engage. But other than that, I'm going to be listening to a book. And then I take notes on my thoughts about what people say in the book. That's what I do. That's how one of the ways. And then I like to have family members who are very well connected. And I have friends who are very well connected. And I love to have discussions with them about whatever's going on in their world. It may not be in my world. Hopefully I'm making this right. So my son's an MD. He's a medical doctor. So having a discussion about, for example, just this afternoon, we had a very brief discussion about nuclear oncology, other radiation for those who have cancer, and how that works, and how getting a good nuclear oncologist is really important so they get the right area of the body and don't damage the outside area. So and that's not my area of specialty, right? But having that discussion with him opens my eyes to see that we can apply that same principles not only to medicine, but into life in general. Because everything, I believe, is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. Everything. I mean, you came from the dust you go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of our great ancestors were food, you know the deal. So it's the grand cycle of life, right? Like Simba and the Lion King. It's the great cycle of life. It really is. The oak tree came from the oak seed. And then it gives off seed. So again, everything is interrelated, I believe, and we can learn something from everybody, even if we don't have to agree with them. And then if you find something that you really can't tolerate, then leave. Turn it off. Close the book. It's all right.
Man, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, and it's so true, the cycle of life indeed. So I guess as with, kind of goes with the failure and success. So what would you consider probably one of your biggest life failures that actually ended up becoming one of your greatest sources of success?
I do think that going back to my earlier conversation, that my getting fired was because I would imagine. So I was able to retire at the highest enlisted rank. I would imagine I may have still retired, but I would not have made it to the highest enlisted rank because I would have been continued to be told that mediocrity was okay. I hope you heard what I said, Don. Right? That to tell someone it's okay to be mediocre, in my humble opinion, is not okay. I want to be excellent. That's what I want to be. Now, somebody else may want to be mediocre, and I'm not knocking it, because that's what they want. But in the military, our process, our mindset is you need to be progressing up or you need to move out. So from that mindset, if you're not moving upwards, if you're still being mediocre, we want you to move out and make room for somebody else that does. This is that's the military mindset. So if he would not have done it, he goes, oh, it's okay, we can do that. But he said, man, you suck. Not exactly those words, right? But he made it very clear that this was not my forte. And not only did he tell me it wasn't good, but he didn't leave me in the quicksand. He didn't let me drown, if that makes sense to you, right? He said, you're not doing this well. Let's find something else that you can do well. Because I've seen you in action, and this is your strength. And praise God, right? And thank you, Paul Zingraf. I was able to move into a position that allowed me to flourish, shine, and skyrocket to the top of my field. And I'm very proud to have been able to do that. So that was one of the best failures that happened to me. That's where I got the manure that helped grow that oak tree that became my career.
Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. That's actually a good metaphor right there. I think that's the first time I've ever heard somebody refer to their career as an oak tree.
Yeah, I'm just, hey, and I'm so proud to say that, because now I've been out the military for coming up on 6 years, and now I still get conversations like I'm going to San Antonio to do some training for someone who I affected 7, 8, 9 years ago, who's like, and you changed my life because you held me to the standards. And now I want you to come out and talk to my soldiers. I share another thing with you. This was now probably 12 years ago now, 13 years ago. Somebody reached out to me, and I don't remember, let's show you, I don't remember his name. And the individual said to me, hey, you probably don't remember me, but I was one of your soldiers, and you were the first sergeant. And I thought you were the biggest a-hole there was. I didn't like you, And now I'm back in the Army, and I just want to reach out to you and thank you, because you held me to the standards. And because you held me to the standards, I took that same mentality, believe it or not, out in the civilian world. And when I got tired of what they were doing, I came back in the military, and now I'm exceeding and excelling. Dom, I share with you, the emotion in my voice is, that is worth gold to me. So as I say, the oak tree of my career, I was able and blessed to be able to plant, because of my ability to influence others, other oak trees out there. So that's one of the best blessings. And of course, that's happened to me with, like I said, Colonel Zingraf or Chin Wong, who hold me to the standards when I was slipping and said, hey, bro, you're better than this. No. You're better than what you're performing. And I'm not going to accept anything. And hey, Joseph Wyman, he said to me, I'm never going to accept anything other than excellence for you and from you. And that was another one of those pivotal points, man. So I do agree with you. That analogy is great. And I'm proud to use that analogy with my career. It's good stuff, yes.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Heck, with that powerful story, that actually brought up this wonderful question here. So, like, with a lot of veterans who may be coming out, like, it can be hard to transition. And the guy you impacted, he joined a civilian life with civilians. It was like, oh my goodness, mediocrity is their god. Let me get back to the military.
Hey, and that's true for some places, right? So again, environment matters, right? And let's be honest. I imagine we've all had the poor customer service, right?
Oh yeah.
I imagine that we've had that first face of of an organization, of a company, and they are definitely mediocre, mediocre at best. I imagine I've had that, and that person may be in the wrong seat on the bus, much like I was. Put that person in the right seat in the right bus, and they start to shine. So, yes, you're absolutely right. If a person leaves out of an organization, be it the military, or be it UPS or Amazon or Burger King or McDonald's, and you go to someplace else and you experience mediocrity where you're used to experience excellence, but you didn't know it was excellence, and you get like, whoa, wait a minute, what? Wait, what? And then we get conditioned to accept, because we all have those habits. We have the habit of accepting mediocrity. And that, believe it or not, that affects all of us. Because when I say that, if we allow mediocrity with ourselves, we then probably will accept mediocrity in other places as well. And therefore that starts to to explode everywhere. And we don't have to be rude when we say we want to have excellence, but that needs to start with me as the individual first. I've got to make sure that I'm portraying excellence to the best of my ability. I didn't say perfection. I said excellence.
Woohoo! That's why his book is all about being excellent now, y'all. That's right indeed. So my goodness, so any advice for those servicemen and women transitioning to civilian life, and any advice for that transition, how to make it a successful one?
Yes, I thank you for the opportunity, Tom. My advice, first and foremost, is I would say advice. Let me back up my first. Is thank you for your service to our great country. Not everyone has chosen to serve, and that is truly okay. It takes a special breed to want to go and put your life on the line for the United States of America, and that's wonderful. So right there, first of all, is there a seated ovation? Okay. Number one, advice: never forget who you are. Never forget who you are. Do not compromise who you are for trying to fit in someplace else. Make sure that you uphold your own standards. Number two, dream big. Whatever you're dreaming for, let's just use money is the easiest thing to talk about. So whatever that money number is, that's easy. It's not the most important. It's the easiest, okay? Whatever that money number is, add a zero at the end. Because if you aim low, you're probably going to hit and think you're doing great. You're still going to be mediocre, because potential is matters. And lastly, never forget the three most important things: relationships, health, and wealth, in that order. So that's my three biggest pieces of advice, and a seated ovation.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. Well, my goodness, this is probably going to be like a freaking 3-hour interview. My goodness.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm so excited to be here with you. I apologize, but I really am so excited to be here, and I want to add value to the folks out there. And I'm not necessarily the soft, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm more the guy that's like, hey, look, you can do better, and I expect you to do better. But let me show you how, right? Just let me tell you that you can do better. Let me show you how. Let's start by changing your mind. Get specific on what you want. Keep it in that order: relationships, your health, and your wealth. Make sure you have a great relationship with you and your God, with you and yourself, and with you and your family. Work, number one, on your health first, because you can't help somebody if you don't have it. And then next, work on the health of your family members, and then the health of the people you work with, because they affect your health. And then next is work on your wealth first. Remember, wealth is it's in the top three, baby. It ain't number one, but it's in the top three. And you have to work on your wealth first, then the wealth of your family, then the wealth of your community. And that wealth equals freedom. That's the true definition of wealth, that you get to choose what you want to do with your time. That, to me, is the definition of being wealthy.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. So my goodness, so if your wonderful book, The 7 Wonderful Ways to Change Your Life by Being Excellent Now, if it was a food, what would it be and why?
Thank you for that opportunity to put it that. And I thought about this. It'd be some broccoli and some tomatoes. So I think it's really good for you. Some of it may not taste really good, but it really isn't. But I love broccoli personally. But it is definitely, it's good information in the book. Some of it may not be easy to digest for some, but just like ketchup, which tastes good to me anyway, is made from tomatoes, same principles applying here, right? So this is great information. I really believe this is great information. Is it perfect? By no means. But is it excellent? I think so. I really do. And some of the challenges that I put in there, as well as getting you to think and ask you to do some things, I think that if you do those things, you will move forward. And I try to use, as you already pointed out, Don, I wanted to use acronyms to make things easier for people to try to remember, like BEN, my first name, be excellent now, dad, the M cubed, M squared, and M right, and the formulas in there, other things I put in there as well. So that's what I think would be some cherry tomatoes, what I have in mind, and some steamed broccoli over.
There you go. The vegans are happy, baby. That's right.
I didn't think about that. That's good. That's true. Environmentalist too, probably, because I'm not adding to the pollution in the air by having to kill animals. Yeah.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. They're happy, y'all. That's right indeed. They're happy indeed. So my goodness, so we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2022, what advice would you give to yourself?
Again, I think I'd go back to stay focused, stay disciplined. Don't give up on your dreams. I didn't share some of the dreams I had, and then I settled. And why am I so passionate about 3 most important things in life? I didn't go into detail in this book, but I made some decisions based on economics that were poor decisions. So again, at that same age as you're talking about, the 25-year-old me made some poor decisions based primarily on money because I grew very poor. The thing that I would tell the 25-year-old me and do, and most importantly do, is be decisive on what I want, very clear on what I want, be dedicated to those activities, and move forward without losing discipline and excitement for what I want. Because as has been said in a couple of books I've read, discipline equals freedom. If you have the discipline of time, if you use time discipline, you have a lot more free time. If you have discipline with money, you have a lot more money in economics. If you're disciplined about your health, you have better health results. Now, just all of this 100%? No, but you set yourself up for the best possible outcome. Because Mother Nature, DNA, genetics play a part in all of that, right? Environment does play a part. But you've done everything you can when you've exercised discipline. So, Dom, to wrap it up, I would tell the 25-year-old Ben Scott in 2022, stay focused and stay disciplined on achieving that which you want to achieve. Don't get sidetracked. Don't cut corners. Stay the course. Exercise that discipline, and you will 80 to 90% of the time achieve more, not just what you want, more than what you could have ever dreamed of.
Boom, that's what I'm talking about, D, baby. That's right, indeed. I'm telling you, we definitely got to have you back again for another round of D, because man's been dropping that hot fire. I'm telling you, that's right, that hot fire. Indeed, that's right, indeed. If y'all don't leave with the whole jewelry store, baby, I'm telling you, man's been dropping them gems, baby. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed.
You're good, brother. You're good. And it would be my honor to come back, and I say this unabashedly, with all sincerity. Anytime that you want me back, brother, I'm here. Guaranteed.
Woohoo! That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because I believe you got 2 more books in the works, right?
I do. I absolutely do. I've got my Ben's texted too. So for a year, Dom, on Monday through Friday, I sent out to a group of people a text at 2:00. And so if that tells you, I've got some 200 plus text messages, and I attached a photo, and in that text message, I did a photo of that. So I've got at least a 200-page document of quotes and thoughts and ideas that I've done, and I've also got some recordings that I've done, and that'd be book number 3. I've recorded some recordings after I worked out on my treadmill, and then whatever I was thinking about at the time, I went then into a 7 minute up to probably no more than 7 minute discussion where I'm talking with myself out loud about some of my own philosophies. and then to put that on paper. Hopefully that makes sense to you, my brother. And then expound upon that with some examples, some stories, like we learned in JMT, right? Story, point about how we can, again, make better. Because there's a lot of people that are starving, not hungry, starving for direction and leadership. And I want to help provide that for some of those folks, even if it's from afar. And then I would love to get in front of them to help them, again, go to the next level, however they define the next level.
Woohoo! That's what I'm talking about. So if folks want to tap into that good stuff, what's the best way for folks to do so?
BenScottLLC.com. And again, I'm also on LinkedIn, and I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. And it's all the same thing. Ben Scott LLC.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. Head over to benscottllc.com. We're going to put the link to his wonderful site in the show notes. Indeed, definitely follow this wonderful man right here who's doing some wonderful work on earth indeed, because my goodness, at the end of the day, we want it to impact as many folks as possible, and Ben is doing the work, y'all. I'm telling you, Ben is doing that marvelous work. So any parting words before we close up shop, sir?
Yes, sir, Dom. Number one, I want to thank God for the opportunity. And again, however you believe God, I do believe that we always need to give thanks and be appreciative of that. Number two, remember the M cubed, M squared, M, and that's mind shift matters most, mind management, and then move. I believe that is the formula to getting what you want, and that's what you define success. And lastly, Dom, or next to last, rather, sorry, I want to thank you again for this opportunity. Like I said near the beginning, this is a great opportunity for me to be able to add value to others. And not just a trite saying. I truly mean that. I want people to have value added to them by taking action, getting their mind where they need to be, take action to get what they want. And then lastly, as we celebrate Independence Day, as you said, that we remember that freedom isn't free, and that we thank our first responders, our military, the folks who came before us, your grandparents sacrificed for you to be here. Everybody was involved and engaged to make sure that we had a free country and we still have an independent country. Thank you, Dom.
Thanks a bunch for tuning in and setting aside some of your time to listen to this wonderful podcast, Going North. If you really enjoyed what you heard, do me a solid and share this with your network and someone that you care about that would get something out of it too. And be sure to subscribe to hear more, and heck, even check out the backlog if you would like, because there are hundreds of episodes to choose from, and they just keep getting better and not butter.